Good evening, class. My name is Nina, and I do ask for forgiveness. I do have a lot of anxiety when speaking in front of large groups of people, especially people that I don't know. The first scholar to identify communication apprehension was James McCroskey, who Bevan quotes in chapter 5 of our textbook, Making Connections, that it's the fear or anxiety associated with either actual or anticipated communication with another person or persons. For me, speaking to groups of people at work, especially groups of people that I'm not familiar with, that causes me the most anxiety when it comes to communicating effectively. In my current position, I'm responsible for reporting monthly numbers to a team of CFOs, CEOs, and members of my direct management team. I am very familiar with my reports, but I'm intimidated by the group of people that I'm reporting to. Some of the things that go through my head or bother me are questions internally, like what if I stutter, or what if they ask me a question that I don't quite know the answer to. What do I sound like? What does my face say? Am I confident, or do I just look dumb? Using the self-test in chapter 5 of Making Connections was a good place for me to start. It showed me that I am a moderate introvert. I realized that I must pay attention to the communication apprehension that I experience in order to determine what competency I'm having the most difficulty with, because it's not always the same for me. Like the example above, I struggle more with the audience that I'm presenting to, not so much the message, but in social settings, I struggle with the message that I'm giving to the audience. I guess in both situations, I'm still intimidated by the people, but it's just a little bit different. In my last meeting, because I've been doing these for about a year, and I've not gotten any better at it, but I've not really taken the time to practice them, because I know the reports. But what I struggle the most with is delivering the message. So in my last meeting, I reviewed my PowerPoint presentation for an hour with my regional director, and in doing that, my presentation to the finance committee board was 10 times better than what I had done for the past year. I needed her to be honest with me, and I needed that conversation right before the meeting started so that we could review things that I might have forgotten about, and it helped my presentation go much faster. Using a PowerPoint presentation also was something that really helped me, because I had my facts right in front of me. So according to Bevan chapter 5, participation in group discussions and presentations, as well as presentations in class, is a good way to develop and refine my talents. And so in my most recent meeting, I found that practicing was a huge part of what I needed to do, and not just rely on the numbers that I was reporting. I know the numbers, I just didn't realize how difficult it was to speak in front of people. Matt Abrams talks in our TED Talk, Speaking Up Without Freaking Out, and he tells us that 85% of people experience anxiety before they give a speech. So knowing that I'm not alone in my emotion helps me, but it doesn't help deal with the stress in that moment that I'm feeling it. When I get anxious, I get heart palpitations, I may start sweating, I know I stutter, and he advises us to confront our worry rather than to run away from it. Our message can also be mapped out with the help of the what, so what, and now what framework that was developed by David Foster Wallace. In my meeting, my map is my PowerPoint presentation for my finance meeting. This is where I get to share my what, which is my monthly scorecard numbers, the how, which is how we either met our goals or we failed to meet those goals, and the now what message, which is what I intend to do either to improve or to keep those scores that I currently own. Knowing where I have the greatest difficulty in each setting, whether it's a social setting or a professional setting, allows me to identify what I need to work on and how to practice more effectively in the future. It's important for me to rehearse because if I do, then I don't stumble as much and I don't sound afraid, which are two things that I worry about when I'm making a presentation. Also, when I rehearse, I feel more confident in my communication skills. If I were to use Matt Abrams' map in every situation where I'm speaking, I would be able to communicate my message with clarity and ensure that I would not forget my message as my anxiety creeps in. Dealing with my anxiety head on, I'm able to overcome it rather than running away from it or letting it overtake me. And so when I'm placed in a scenario where I feel like I'm apprehensive, these examples will help me in dealing with my fears and overcoming them.